Welcome, everyone. We're going to get started in just 5 minutes. Welcome to Exploring Hinduism through Geography and History. Welcome, everybody, to today's webinar. I'm your host, Shilpa Agarwal. I'm a novelist and I am faculty at HUA. And I am very welcome, Dr. HemaHari and Dr.D.K.Hari. I'm your host for today, and I would love to introduce our panelists today. Dr.D.K.HemaHari and Dr.D.K.Hari, wife and husband team, together started the BharathGyan initiative in civilizational studies in the year 2000. BharathGyan follows an interdisciplinary approach to researching India from an Indian perspective and provides an integrated Indic narrative of the Indian civilization. Together, they have co-authored and brought out 40 books on the Indian civilization in English and their translations in Hindi, Kannada, Marathi, Gujarati, and Tamil. 300 short films on Indian civilization for social media, 5 documentaries, and much, much more. There's too much to go into. And they have spoken at conferences and events around the world and received many awards and recognition for their teaching and their knowledge. And they are esteemed and beloved faculty at HUA. And this summer quarter, they will be teaching a course entitled Exploring Hinduism Through Geography and History. And we'll be learning more about this course today. Welcome, Dr. HemaHari and Dr. D.K.Hari. It's such an honor to have you speak with us today. Thank you so much.
Namaste, Shilpa. Thank you for the lovely introduction.
Thank you, very kind of you. And
we
get to the section, which is about the geography, the history of our civilization, the Bharata civilization. We look at that from, and we'll be glad to take any questions in the chat box, which you can share with us as we go along. Thank you.
Perfect. So you will start with the presentation and then we'll go into the
Yes, we
Q&A.
would like to share our screen and then we'll take it home.
Okay. Are you able to share your screen?
I'll just check.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Looks like it, yes.
Okay. Perfect.
And we'd like to start, but we'd like to thank all the participants who have joined in today. Thank you so much for taking the time and effort to join in for this presentation. Very kind of you. Thank you so much. So we'll be looking at us, as we said, about exploring our civilization from these two perspectives in this session today.
And we're going to start with the word civilization itself. So before we try to get into understanding about the Bharata civilization, what do we mean by the word civilization? When we say civilization, what do we mean by it? And if you look at it, you can trace it to the Latin root words. So like it says, civitas, which means city, and civis, which means a city dweller. So actually in the Latin language, it was meant to connote the Romans and citizens, Roman citizens in particular. So let's note this: citizen, city, and from there we get civics for the civis or those in civitas. So when we say civics, it is meant for those who are city dwellers and not forest dwellers.
See here, obviously what the Roman civilization people are trying to say is those who are living in Rome, or that is the city of Rome, or the Roman kingdom were more civilized than others. So the idea is I'm better. That's what comes up there. And whereas in the Bharata civilization thought, we had 3 terms we used. People who lived in a town or city were called Nagara Vasi because you're staying in a Nagar. The people who were living in a village were called Grama Vasi. That is people living in villages. And the people living in forests were called Vana Vasi, people living in a Vana. Vana is also, as you all know, is a forest, but it also means a place a little afar.
Vana means far, at a distance. So forests or those places which are far away
Away from-
from cities or
Dwelling areas.
dwelling areas like
So-
cities and villages, towns.
So see, all three were terms, respectful terms in their own context. They were not derogatory terms. Whereas if you look at what we have got the English language, only so those who live in cities or live in areas that are thought fit by me, you are civic. Otherwise, you are uncivilized. There's a concept. Whereas we don't have, because for us, a Nagaravasi, a Gramavasi, and a Vanavasi, all three put together became the Janajati of the land, of a composite civilization. And we'll, as we go along, we'll see each aspect of it.
So actually what is coming out here, from what he said, see, in ours, we had in this Bharata civilization, we had a distinction between categorizing people based on where they lived vis-a-vis their behavior. Whereas in this word civilization and civilized, you find both of them rolled into one. This word civilized is denoting the behavior as well as the idea that the people are in the city. So those who live in the city are those who have a civilized, good behavior.
So the domiciliary pattern did not decide your nature. Whereas domiciliary pattern is different, the nature of a person is being different. Whereas the nature of a person being noble, being good, has been called in the Bharata civilization and later in Europe, also a couple of centuries ago, as the term Arya. And if you are not noble in your deed or thought or act, whatever it may be,
Or words.
then you're called Anarya. That means you're ignoble, what you call. So noble, ignoble. So
And the beautiful example here is the story of Shakuntala. Many of you would have come across this story, right? So
Dushyant and Shakuntala, where when her husband Dushyant refused to recognize her, in spite of she being pregnant, what did she say? He calls him Anarya, not being noble, of noble. So it's got nothing to do with descent. It's of character, it's of behavior. So what it means. And unfortunately, a century and a half or 2 centuries ago, this term Arya, which only means nobility, goodness, was suffixed with the alphabet N and made Aryan. Aryan is not an Indian term at all. It's not a Bharata term at all. So that is what we need to realize. For this, to understand that we need to go to both in the language of Southeast Asia. The language is called Bahasa. Bahasa. In India, it's called Bhasha. In Southeast Asia, it's called Bahasa. So it's called Bahasa, where the term for a civilized person, an Arya person, a noble person, is called Aryatama. Look at the term. It's traveled across the Bay of Bengal to Southeast Asia, and all the Bahasa languages, it has been consistently called as Aryatama to speak about good quality of civilization, which we'll see now. Look at this. And the word Aryatama itself is conjoined from the two words Arya, nobility, and Tama is the Bahasa language of saying Dharma. Because what we call Dharma becomes Dhamma there. That's again a Pali, Prakrit, Buddhist way of saying it, Dhamma. So the conjoined word becomes Arya Tama in all of Southeast Asia, which you see in different ways. Meaning
so called Aryatama.
In the Thai language. So you see how it's spread over the world, especially Southeast Asia, including in the Khmer, Cambodian civilization, the same term is being used. We see that across the seas. So having seen this, also, when you come to the English language, when you say somebody is good, somebody is right, what do you say? It's a fair approach. He is fair in his dealings. So that means white is fair, and the opposite dark is uncivilized or bad. So it's a black sheep. It's a dark day. It's a black day. It's a Black Friday. Whatever they say. So look at that concepts that have stepped in of colors being good and bad, being even racial. So these are things that have come up to us in the narrative in the last few centuries, and very unfortunate, because just because a person is dark or black doesn't mean he is uncivilized. They're equally noble, equally civilized, equally capable, and people who is fair also can be ignoble. So it's got nothing to do with color, is what we want to bring out this quick point here.
So there's actually so much behind the word civilization. So having understood how we looked at people as people from Grama, Nagara, and the Vana, we're going to look at what this land of Bharat actually denoted. I mean, when we said the word Bharat, what was the extent of land that we meant? And we'll have a few short films. After that serious topic, we'll just look at some small films to show you what this Bharat means.
Our ancients have named our land Bharat, meaning the land where people relished knowledge. Did they also specify the geographical extent of this land?
The ancient text, the Vishnu Purana, mentions Bharat as a well-marked geographical region, which is evident from the Sanskrit verse.
Uttaram yat samudrasya himadraschaiva dakshinam varsham tat bharatam nama bharati yatra santatihi.
It means that land is called Bharat, that lies north of the oceans and south of the snowy mountains, the Himalayas. The land is known as Bharatam, and those are Bharatiya who consider this land as their motherland and live in it as the children of this soil.
So the idea of citizenry goes back as old as the Purana and Veda, where you have the idea of Bharatam Janam, which even Rishi Vishwamitra has spoken about in the Ramayana and earlier there too. Now we look at some of the boundaries of this land, of what we call Bharat, the geography of this land.
Just one moment. Yeah, it's all.
Let's look at the boundaries of this land Bharat, as mentioned in our ancient texts.
The boundaries of Bharat were well described as the great ocean in the south, that is, the Mahasagar, the high snow-capped mountains, the Himalayas, in the north. Him means snow, Alya means abode, Himalaya means the abode of snow. The easternmost point was known as Arunachal. Aruna means the first rays of the sun. It is not the disk of the sun, but the rays of the sun that precede the rising sun. Achala means hills. Arunachal is the hills that receive the first light. The westernmost hills, which form the boundaries of Bharat, were known as Astachal. Ast means to set, the setting sun as in Suryast. The hills on which the sun sets in the land of Bharat was called Astachal.
This whole geographical region has never been ruled by any one king. This land has been won, not politically, but culturally, and geographically, this land has been called Bharata.
So look at the beauty of it here for a moment. We all know about Arunachal Pradesh as a state of the northeastern state of Bharat. And we look at the name has a meaning, because in Dakshin we have a temple for Arunachaleshwara also. In many other parts of Bharat we have. Shiva is called Arunachala, so we all know that. Similarly, where we have Arunachal, millennia ago, we had an Astachal too, to bring forth the extent, the geography of the land, which is what we'll be seeing in the next 10 weeks of our quarter, but we'll just show you a sample film now.
So everybody must be curious as to what is this Astachal? Where do we have I mean, today we know that there is a Arunachal and we know it as a physical place that we can go to and we see it on the map. Where is this Astachal that we have never seen on the map of India? So here is where, if you really look at it, we'll just share the screen and show you something. But before we go there, actually, I think I would like to say something more. We'll proceed further and then come back to this Astachal. Let us look at first the Bharata Kanda and Bharata Varsha. Then we will come to all these aspects of the actual places.
Because when we do Sankalpa, we speak about the land, we use two terms, Bharata Kanda and Bharata Varsha. What do these two terms mean and why two different terms? One is Kanda and one is
We
Varsha.
also hear the names Bharat Kand, Bharat Varsh for this land. What do these names imply?
Bharat Khand is the continent of Bharat. This expression of Bharat Khanda in times of yore stretched from Turkey, Rome in the west, to Suvarnabhumi, Indonesia in the east. The continent of Bharat Khand pretty much covered most of South Asia. In the continent of Bharat laid the country Bharat Varsha. The Bharat Varsha extended from Afghanistan in the west to Arunachal Pradesh in the east, to the Himalayas in the north, to the Indian Ocean in the south.
In this continent of Bharatkhanda lay the country Bharatavarsha. This Bharatavarsha extended from Afghanistan in the west to Arunachal Pradesh in the east, from Himalayas in the north to the Indian Ocean in the south.
So we want to set these contexts right for us of the term Arunachal, Astachal. So we want to set the terms of Arunachal, Astachal, Bharata, Bharatavarsha, Bharatakhanda. Having seen this, now we'll get to the idea of Astachal, which we wanted to explain a little more in this, because it's really such intricate aspects we'll be looking at as we go along in our sessions. So already seen the idea of from Turkey, Rum, and you'd all know the famous poet of Turkey was called Rumi, R-U-M-I. How does his name come Rumi? Because he was born in Rum. That's why you get the name Rumi. And it's a land. This is a land where people have been of. Look at the names of the early kings of Rum, Turkey. Sutarna, Paratarna,
Kastra, Saukshatra, Paratarna, and all that. So Dasharatha, Mativaja. So you can see even from their own history, you can see how there is. So when we say Bharatakanda extended up to Rum, you can see the corroborating evidence from their history, which tallies with the way we have our records as well, the names that figure in our Puranic and historical Itihasic records.
Similarly, if you look at Indonesia, that's a new term because they are looking for India all over the world. And a couple of centuries back, the world was India-centric. The way today the world is USA, America-centric. Couple of centuries ago, the world was India-centric. So wherever they went, Red Indians, Native Indians, Indonesia, India, they're looking for India everywhere. The world. So that is why look at in Indonesia, got the famous sites like Borobudur, so hundreds of sites all over Indonesia, which speaks about a very vibrant civilization which is connected to Bharata. So that's why what is the term that was called by themselves and by us? They're called Suvarna Bhumi. Varna, color, Suvarna, the pleasing, nice color, which we generally we refer to gold, golden hued. So Suvarna Bhumi. So the golden hued Bhumi is Suvarna Bhumi. That's what we called it by. Now going back. So you look at the land of Bharatavarsha, as we already explained to you once about this idea, how it stretches from. Of course, now the kingdom was Kamarupa about few hundred years back to coming up to in the west up to Aryavarta, the Gandhar Desam. All this was made up of this.
And see here, interestingly, what you have? You have the two passes, the Khyber Pass and the Bolan Pass in the Himalayas, through which people could, in the Karakoram range, and through which people could travel through the Bharatvarsha land.
To the Bharatvarsha land. And in the east, what did you have? Something called Arakan Yoma and Pegu Yoma. Very important. Look at the term Arakan again. It's a Burmese term now, but it means something like a Rakshasa. So that's a term comes to the ages for us.
It's also red.
Mm.
Araku also means red in color. And the interesting aspects about the geography of this Bharat, which is what we're going to spend a few minutes to learn, because from there is where we are going to trace this Astachal, mysterious Astachal. So in Babarnama also he mentions, which is much, much later, of course, I mean, quite close to present times.
500 years
500 years ago, we have Hindustan. He says Hindustan begins from the east of Kabul then.
For him.
And when Mughal king Babur reached Lamghan and all that, these are towns to the east of Kabul in today's northeast Afghanistan. And that is when he says that he has reached the border of Hindustan.
That is, mind you, today's Afghanistan is what he calls the border of Hindustan. So that is why he extends it. So it's actually come down a little bit from Astachal in his times itself, 500 years ago, which was still Astachal 1,000 years ago. We'll see that now.
See, in 1505 AD, so just 500 years ago. And he says, till that time, I had never seen a hot country or the Hindustan borderland. And then in Nignahar, another world came to view. Other grasses, other trees, other animals, other birds, and other manners and customs of clan and horde. We were amazed, and truly there was ground for amaze.
So this land, Hindustan, what we call Bharata, has always been what the term they used Hindustan was something of amazement to them and very different because they were coming from a little more arid Central Asia. So they have found this lot more greener. So first few words, what you grass because the land is green. There are more trees, there are more animals. Obviously, talking about both flora and fauna of the geography of Bharata.
So, and it's a big irony actually, this particular para, one would tend to wish it were otherwise, because see, this army, they are coming marching, okay? And then at one point, some advised a march to the plain, Dasht. So this is the plains into Tehran, Persia. Some approved of Bangash, some wished to go into Hindustan. The discussion found settlement in a move on Hindustan. So if this discussion hadn't found a settlement, then the history of India would have been totally
very different. 500 years because they had three options, but they chose the eastern option then. So that's a different point. I wanted to tell you in the history how small changes in history change for centuries together. Small decisions change the history of the land for centuries.
And see here, he says Kabul and Kandahar were the entrepots between Hindustan and Khorasan. So just beyond this area was called Khorasan. And see here, they say Kabul and Kandahar. Now we want to take you back a couple of slides to what we saw here. See, Khyber Pass and the Bolan Pass. So these are the points through which trade would happen with the Western world over land.
Both Kabul and Kandahar. So key points that were opening mouths, opening windows to the land of Bharatavarsha. Look at the idea of Khyber Pass, through the hills in the gaps you enter. In the high ranges of the Karakoram, so you get passes to enter. Similarly, the Bolan Pass. Of course, unfortunately, this is where the Hindu Kush thing is because the Hindus, this Hindu Kush is not got to anything in the word Kush in the present in the Arabic. Kush means it is Kutkushi. It was murdersome. It was suicidal for the Hindus. That's why it's called Hindu Kush. That's how the term comes. We'll go on now to look at that.
So that's what he says between Hindustan and Khorasan. One is Kabul, the other is Kandahar.
Two important places. Now look at the geography. Go back once. Look at the natural geography of the land, which encapsulated this land and kept it safe for many a millennia for the noble thoughts, the noble deeds of the people to flourish. be prosperous in their life. That is why they call themselves Arya, meaning people with nobility all over the land. That was the large idea. Of course, you had two passes here which opened out, and then those plains, for as he says, all the plains. So these were the two key passes that opened out.
But otherwise, it was totally
Geographically encapsulated land we had.
yeah, the Himalayas, then the Arakan Beguyoma here. Then here is the Deccan Plateau, and then you had sea all sides. So it was really safe land.
Very safe for millennia together.
And in Bharat, actually in the south, if you see, they even had an idea of the geography of not just the Bharata Kanda and Bharatavarsha, but also the Jambu Dvipa, which is there in almost all our literature. And they even had a Devi for this, Devi Champapati, Jambu Dvipa Kaval Deva.
That is, when we speak about Jambu Dvipa, we speak about Eurasia, the whole idea of Jambu Dvipam, Eurasia here.
So now we come to how Al-Bruni, who comes to India and along with Muhammad of Ghazni, and he describes this geography, and this is what gives us a clue. See, he says longitude from east to west, passing through China, Tibet, the country of Turks, Kabul, Badakhshan, Tokaristan, Bamiyan, Elgor, Khorasan, Media, and all that. Azerbaijan, this is Azerbaijan land, Armenia, Roman. So he goes all the way from China, he traces it. And look at this word, Jalalika, for the Galicians.
So you get a term we look for, that is for the Galicians, that is West Europe, Gauls. What you call Galicians 1,000 years back. You're getting a very interesting insight here. What does he call it? Jalalika. And what is a term we use for? Use the term Jalalika also. When you have a sieve where you take atta and do it, what do you call it? You call it a jalade. So you have the term. So it means which has got a lot of perforations. It's a mesh basically. So that is a term we'd use for Western France, those days. Look at this idea, Gauls. I'm sure some of you have read Asterix, the Gauls. Look at how the term, the Gaul term itself has a root in the Indian term, which I showed you here. And look at this, actually speaks about in the larger idea of Setu Himachalam. That's what he calls the land.
So, Setu. So, with Setu up and Himachala. So, on one side, it has got the Setu, and on the other side, it's got the Himalaya, Himachal. So, Setu Himachalam is the entire land of Bharat.
So, this is 1,000-year-old reference to this land of Bharata. And what they call as the Madhya Desa, the middle kingdom, that is on the center of Bharat.
So that was Kanauj. And further down, you find, he talks about how the children of Pandu come from Kanauj. Vasudeva, they come from Mathura or Mahura.
See, he's naming the civilization, he's naming the key lineages of the civilization, which happened a couple of few millennia before him. Mind you, all this record is a 1,000-year-old record. So that means what? The idea of the children of Pandu, the city of Mathura, and Vasudeva are all famous. And what does he call because the term year and ja is interchangeable in many languages, including the English language. So the word Yamuna becomes John for them. So you see a very distinct geographical description of the land through the millennia, consistently, not by ourselves, but visitors also, both hostile and friendly, both sort of visitors we see. Because he had come to record, so he was a documenter. This is Al-Biruni. Of course, he came with a person who was coming with a looting, plundering intention. But this person documented things, who stayed along with the plunderer, the looter. He stayed along with Muhammad of Ghazni, as she said, to document everything, and we get extensive data.
So he says in the mountains which form the frontier of India towards the west, there are tribes of the Hindus or of people near akin to them, rebellious savage races which extend as far as the farthermost frontiers of the Hindu race. And then he talks about Taneshwar, and which lies between the two rivers of Kannauj. This is Taneshwar, which was the capital of Harsha. Then look at this name. Of course, he says opposite Tilwar, the country to left is the realm of Naipal.
That is present-day Nepal.
And then Bhoteshwar, any guesses, is the first frontier of Tibet. We'll see a very interesting aspect of Tibet too. But look at this. Frontier of Tibet, he says, is Bhoteshwar.
What you today call as Bhutan, the state of Bhutan is also so nicely expressed as Bhoteshwar.
Bhuteshwar.
Today called as Bhutan. But that's a country. So all these names go back a millennia and have been consistent through the ages. That's the beauty of what you want to say. So many of these names are not new. They all come to us sequentially, beautifully down the ages. And he speaks about Ganga.
And he talks about the city of Khajuraho,
the famous temple city, which is still there. So that's also been there 1,000 years. So what proof? You're getting proof in literature too across millennia.
And between Kannauj and Khajuraho, he talks about forts like Gwalior and Kalanjar. So how old they are.
And Kashmir, on the banks of the Jhelum River, which is still there. And look at different places he's mentioned. And look at this. He calls behind all this, behind your Arunachal Pradesh and Bhuteshwar, beyond it is a greater China, great China. So Chin, the term Chin itself, China, of course, English term. The Indian term is Chin. What does Chin itself mean? What does Chin itself mean? It means to the east. So east of what? East of Bharat. So the land of China, geography of China, comes from an Indic term, a Bharata term, meaning to the east of. The term China itself means east of. So east of what is the question? East of the Bharata civilization. So look at how the other great civilization of Asia geographically named themselves in correlation to Bharata. That's the beauty of it. As we go along this course, we look at the names of Bharata also, which we'll do as part of our course.
So the other interesting thing he says, see, the coast of India begins with Tees, the capital of Makaran.
Now the question
and
is,
extends from there in a southeastern direction towards the region of Al-Daibal.
now we'll not look at Makaran. Look at the term Makaran. We'll not see why is Makaran called Makaran in the first place is what we will see.
So Al-Daibal, if you go and trace where is this Al-Daibal that he spoke about, you will find that it was called Deval or Devalaya.
Look at the term Devalaya, a very Bharata term.
And this is traced to the region around Karachi, Thatta and Lahari Bandar, which are all now in the Sindh, which is a province of Pakistan today. And that is actually around this region. So this is where Karachi is. So this Al-Daibal, as he called it, or the Devalaya as it was also called, is around this region. And it was the region of the Chacha dynasty of the Sindh region. And if you look at this particular region, it is identified with an island which is called the Manora Island. And the Manora Island exists even today. And do you know what exists on that Manora Island? You have the old ancient temple of Varuna, the divinity Varuna Dev. And this Varuna Dev and this temple of Manora, we'll see where exactly it is and what is this temple of Manora. So this is that place, Karachi.
See, you have a temple for Varun Dev here, even though it exists, even though in a very dilapidated condition because it is in Sindh, Pakistan. This is the temple of Varuna, which really from the pivotal point of the whole of Arabian Sea, the top end point, it controlled the whole Arabian Sea because Varuna, what is the Vahana for Varuna? Look at that. Makara is the Vahana for Varuna. And what is that coast called? Makran. The whole coast of southern Iran, all the way up to Sindh is called the Makaran coast that she just showed you. So look at the term. It comes from the Vahana of Varuna, which is Makaran. Varuna Dev is for the seas, the high seas. That's why if you see, sitting here, west of the Sindhu Nadi, west of Karachi in the island, it controls a whole naval Navy, Navgat area very clearly. So this is the Sindhu Sagar because
There's nothing from there all the way down
up to the
south.
Atlantic. So look
The
at
whole sea is open to you.
the term what is used for Sindhu Sagar because it was a Sindhu river that came
Drained.
and that drained into this. Of course, the term Arabian Sea came in much later with the colonizers coming because for them to travel to Arabia was easy from India, so they called the sea Arabian Sea. Prior to that, the term was called Sindhu Sagar. That's what it's called.
And for them, when they approached India, it was after Arabia. From the west, it is at Arabia and then India. So this becomes the Arabian Sea.
But the head of the sea is what? Your Varuna temple, because Varuna is for the divinity of waters, shipping, and the navy. That's why the Indian Navy has the logo Shanno Varunaha. Look at that. That's a motto of the slogan of the Indian Navy, even now, the Bharata Navy. That was how, and you see the coast of Makaran. So this whole coast is called the Makaran coast because it comes from the Vahana of Varuna being Makara.
So we have written about this in our book, Breaking the Myths, about identity. You'll find more details and more recent pictures.
So that's the temple that's here. So I'll see that.
So
That's
this is on the beach. It's a Manora beach with the temple here.
So that's the temple for Varun Dev. Look at at the top point of the Sindhu Sagar. So
And
this is the
Varun Dev, Varuna, the deity, is also prayed to as by the Sindhis as Jhulelal. So or Udero Lal.
So all of you know a famous Sindhi song called Jhulelal.
Damadam Mastakalam.
Damadam Mastakalam is a famous song. Look at this, how it all correlates to each other. This is the...
So Varun Dev Mandir. So this is the entrance to that Varun Dev temple. So from here, now look at Makaran. Now you will start, you'll be able to piece these things together very nicely. So here is Karachi, okay? And this is where Makaran is. This entire coast was called the Makaran coast, and it was called Makaran coast even during the times of Alexander. Because while Alexander comes and he comes up to this Punjab region, these Sutlej, and he's not able to get in further. But after that, he returns. When he returns, they break up into two teams and they write all this. And we'll be looking at all this during the course. So one team actually goes along this Makaran coast by land. And another team, they set sail along the Makaran coast. And mind you, it is the Indians in this coast who actually built. So this entire coast was full of shipbuilders.
So they gave ships for...
They made ships for Alexander's army to return by sea.
Mind you, the Alexander's army was sort of victorious army, but a defeated army. They defeated by the chieftain of Bharat, Pururava, who the Greeks called Porus, right about as Porus. So it was a defeated King Alexander who could not proceed further into the plains of Bharat, went back. And
this Makaran coast is actually playing it's come back into focus in recent times because of this Chabahar Bay and the port there of Iran, which India has started to operate. And like that, you have the Gwadar Bay, Gwadar port here, which is in Pakistan and which is part of the China's Belt and Road Initiative. So actually, Gwadar was offered to Bharat by Oman, which owned it. Then at the time of independence, they Muscat across the sea owned that port. They offered it to Bharat. Unfortunately, at the time of after independence, we did not buy it from them. So it went to Pakistan. But now, in the New India initiative, we are the present government of Bharat has taken the Makaran port because next to Gwadar, it's an equally big port. So to trade with different parts of the world from there on. So we are slowly getting back our geography, to understand the history too. The long connect
of Makarand with the Bharata civilization.
So all this about the Russian coal coming to India and all that is through these routes now.
Back to old roots, getting back our historically geographical roots.
So in this Makaran, here is where you have the Tees. So Al-Bruni speaks about the Bharat coast stretching from Tees all the way, right? So this is the Tees at Makaran. This is the Chabahar Bay.
Look at it's a very secure, nice bay. It's like a cove. It's a beautiful cove. When you see the larger map, you don't get to see it. So Hema has taken the effort to sort of make this big. Now, look at this northwest of this Makaran coast, very near Tehran, the capital, below the Caspian Sea. Again, see that this is the Caspian Sea. This is the Caspian Sea. And what is the Caspian Sea? Is again English name. What is the Indian Bharata name for the Caspian Sea? It was called Kashyapa Sagar because Rishi Kashyapa Sagar, incidentally, which we happened to visit about 12 years back to do some research on that place. So this is the Kashyapa Sagar. Just below that, what do you have? The place called Astachal. So this here we have Arunachal. Look at this. Eastern part of, so this is the Bhuteshwar, Bhutan. This is Nepal, now called Nepal. And this is the Great China there. So this you have the Arunachal, the rising sun, AR Arunachal, rising sun. You have Astachal here. That means look at the stretch of India. Now, unfortunately, India is here at Rajasthan, Punjab, Jammu, right? Whereas 1,000 years back, it stretched up to Astachal. Of course, when he came, he says Tees was the starting point for him at the coast. But before that, it was Astachal. She'll explain a little more about Astachal now the next few minutes. Look at how much the land of Bharata Varsha stretched all the way up, almost up to the end of Bharata Khanda, what we saw a few minutes earlier.
So there is a range of mountain here as well, and which has one of the Asia's tallest volcano is actually over here. And the approaches to that volcano, it's not just one. So you may wonder, how come there is a Astachal? But you will find there are many, many places here in that mountain range which are ending Merchal and then Hesarchal, then Astachal, Sangchal. So many places which are called, which end with this word Chal, which is like mountain. We have Achal. So
we have also Achal, Himachal,
Uttaranchal,
Vindhyachal, Arunachal. So we have all these Achals. So
that which doesn't move. Achal is that which doesn't move. Achal. So
Chalna, look at that. The language, the history, the geography, they all meet so beautifully, and you have such wonderful place. So this shows also spread out because the names still are there, and these terms Chal, Achal are still there. That's the beauty of it. That explains the spread of the land.
So imagine we are talking about a stretch where the sun rises here and till it sets here. This entire land is called Bharata Varsha. Bharata Khanda we saw comes all the way from Rum, Turkey, which is further beyond here. And from there to Swarnabhumi. This is Bharata Varsha.
Now, having said this, look at this. So, if you see Himalayas, here I'll explain to you now in another film shortly. Wait. Himalayas, you think end somewhere here. No, Himalayas actually goes somewhere up to, because this is also Himalaya. All the Pamir, not everything. Himalaya, it comes here. But Himalaya goes because Arakan Yoma, Pegu Yoma is also part of that, but goes. So there are two things you have to look at. One is the geographical Himalayas, other is the geological Himalayas. So the outcrop of the mountains of Himalayas is what you see from Afghanistan all the way up to beyond, up to Burma and beyond. Whereas the below, the basement, the foundation of the Himalayas actually stretches from Tehran in the east, in the west, to Hanoi, Vietnam in the east. So the outcrop of the Himalaya, the snowbound mountains, as you see, so up from Hanoi in the east up to Tehran, the below the foundation bedrock stones follow. So that means that's how they kept Astachal there, because they knew geologically till then was what you call the Himalaya Parvat. It's a beautiful point.
And we will see how this came to be itself. And this will also see from the name. Just like we saw Bhutan is called Bhuteshwar, it was called Bhuteshwar. Tibet, which is this part of the land, was not called, I mean, is called Tibet now, of course, but
From
it's
here to
going-
here. See, all this is, see, this whole area is Tibet. I hope you can see my moving the cursor, the mouse. This whole area is called Tibet. Of course, Tibet is a much anglicized term. Hema is going to show you a film now on the term Tibet and how Tibet itself came to be. She'll just show you a film, just a 2-minute film, 3-minute film. Let's all watch it together.
So Tibet was called Trivishta.
The land to the north of Himalayas is called Tibet. Tibet is called Trivishtab in Sanskrit language. How did Tibet get its name?
The Indian plate, slowly moving northwards in the remote past, hit the Asian plate many million years ago. When it hit the Asian plate, it created a crumple. What came of this crumple is a massive range of mountains. This crumpled mountain range stretched from Tehran in Iran in the west to Hanoi in Vietnam in the east. This is what we now call the Himalayan range. This impact had created 3 crumple zones in this Himalayan range. The lower range is known as Shivalik, where life exists in abundance. The middle range is known as Mahabharat, the great range that encapsulates the northern borders of the land of Bharat. The third and the highest range is called Himalaya, always covered in snow.
Because of these 3 layers or crumpled zones, the flat land on the other side of the Himalayas came to be called Trivishtab, meaning the thrice folded land. This word Trivishtab got anglicized and became Tibet. We thus see that this land Tibet had a scientific name, Trivishtab, from a geological happening.
So see, it's not wonderful that what we call Tibet today is actually a geological term of a land sitting on top of a thrice folded mountain. And look at this first term, Shivalik. Shiv there means obviously life abounding, Shiva. And the second term, Mahabharata. This is not to be confused with the epic Mahabharata, the Itihasa Mahabharata. Oh, thank you for your appreciation. This is not to be limitedly confused with that. This means Bharat, the land of Bharat, the great land of Bharat, the mountain range that encapsulated the land of Bharat. That's why the word Mahabharata there comes from. The other Itihasa, the Mahabharata Itihasa's meaning is a different thing which you'll see as we go along. And obviously Himalaya. So the stretch of it, so everything is so scientifically, technically, geographically, geologically, tectonic wise named, hydrology wise named, topography wise named. Look at the names. Each one app fits into itself by itself beautifully. That is what we have to appreciate of the geography and history of our Bharata civilization. Every aspect by itself sets it. If we just extend ourselves, look at these things in detail. Look at the term Makaran coast. Everybody speaks Makaran coast. Nobody nowadays, we need to relate it back to
Varuna Deva and his Vahana Makara.
Makara, because the land, the sea coast, the sea obviously abounds with wild sea creatures. This Makara. Makara is not to be limitedly seen as crocodile. Crocodile is also sea creature. Of course, this area abounds in crocodile. The river Ganga has its own crocodile, Gharial. This place also has got its crocodile. Sindhu Nadi has its crocodile. The Makara coast has its crocodile. But here the term Makara in the Vahana, as already mentioned in Valmiki Ramayana means wild sea creatures, huge sea creatures, Makara, because Varuna Deva, as being the divinity for the seas, again aptly as his Vahan, vehicle, as Makara, that is the sea creature. Because everything fits in so wonderfully. What is it?
So I think we just have 10 minutes left for the session. So this is how we have to look and understand the extent of the Bharata civilization, because only when we understand the extent, later on we'll be looking at how they were. So we saw there are these two anthropods, Kabul, Kandahar. And in fact, Al-Biruni goes on to say how these markets, Khurasan was actually Bharat's market. But you could get products of China, you could get products of Rome, everything would come there. But it was Bharat's own market, Hindustan's own market, he calls Khurasan.
But
So-
unfortunately, it's gone beyond Afghanistan today. Khorasan, which is the other part of the western part of Afghanistan area, now was
because by the time Al-Biruni came itself, we had had almost 300, 400 years of pushback in
slow pushback. So
incursions and so on.
when you realize about the greatness of the Bharata civilization, we need to understand its geography, not only its history, but also understand the stretch of geography. Of course, now all of us can recognize this, how the civilization traded, dealt with itself, had its markets, had its coastline, because that is when we can start looking at reliving our large civilizational goals. That's the beauty of it.
So there are so many things, like we are going to see what happened to this civilization. How did we'll also be looking at aspects of history. And overall, what we have done is in Hindu University of America, we have, oh, sorry.
So sorry, we just get to share. Just give me one moment. Just share two more seconds and end it.
So at Hindu University of America, we have come up with a certificate program itself, which comprises 8 quarters and 8 courses, therefore, to understand the identity, the geography, history, the industry, trade, how did we trade, navigation, the society, therefore, how did this come to become a society? And we had a beautiful word for it, which is Samaj. And then
all are equal in Samaj. There's no ups and downs, all equal. Sama, equal, same. Look at the English term, same comes from the Indian term, Bharata term, sama.
And then how did we keep time so that we knew when to do what? I mean, it's very important in navigation. And therefore, we celebrated all our prosperity and also time itself. And we had education, languages, ethos. We had a beautiful system. So all of this we'll be getting to see as part of this certificate program. And where we look at it as 2 parts. One, where we explore the civilization as such, through geography and history that we are going to do in this summer quarter.
Quarter.
And then through its divinities and dharma, the aspect which is very unique. Dharma aspect of, the understanding is unique. The concept of dharma is universal. So this is what we'll be seeing in the next quarter,
following quarter.
And then we'll be looking at cosmology and calendar, and then society and culture. So this kind of gives us a good handle about the civilization. And from there on, we move to looking at, okay, now given that this is the civilization, what did this civilization contribute to the world? And we'll be looking at these contributions in 2 aspects. One in the realm of matter, and then in the realm of mind. So in the realm of matter, we'll be looking at what we have just grouped as the big 5 and the innumerable other things as well. And then how all of these went to become game changer for the world. How
Not just for Bharat,
how
for the
did
world.
it change the world? All that we contributed from the realm of matter. Likewise, in the realm of mind, what are the things we contributed in the realm of sciences and arts and living and lifestyle, which we just completed just now.
Just last
in one
quarter we
cycle.
completed that.
So we are starting, and we do this as a cyclical program. So these series of courses go around like a circle, and they are like a hop on and hop off. So people can join at any of the quarters and still get a good handle. And as they complete the 8 courses, they get a certificate from the university, and certificate is for 12 credits. So this is what we have designed itself as a program, so that step by step you can look at various facets of this civilization. I mean, it's just such a huge civilization with lot of layers and meanings and beauty to appreciate. So even this is still too less, but this is something we can do even within 2 years. So that's what we have put across, and we would love to see many of you to join. See, the whole idea, and these are courses that you can join as a family too. Parents and grandparents and children can all join, along with students. They can join with their parents too. And the fundamental thing is, see, given that once you get a handle of the civilization and its contributions, it kind of helps you scale up your own skills. Find out what are those points that you can pick up as relevant for present and future. And you'll get that confidence and dare. You'll get a sense of direction, because once you start understanding Dharma, start looking at the cosmic scale of everything, then you get that sense of direction, you get a sense of balance, and I mean, your vision becomes much, much larger. Your canvas becomes that much bigger.
Perspective, what we call in India as drishti cone, angles, perspective. So, drishti cone, so wide angle, Vishal, Vishwa, Vishal Akshi. The consort of Shiva in Kashi is called Vishal Akshi. Akshi is the eye, Vishal. So
because he is
wide angle.
Vishwanatha, because he is the lord of the Vishwanatha, and therefore she is Vishalakshi.
So to view Vishwanatha, you need Vishal Akshi, the wide eye perspective. So that's what we try to bring out in our civilization capsule. And all this gives us what? A sense of confidence and dare. Because the moment you have confidence about our own civilization, the next step is a dare, the strength. You cannot dare without confidence. So we shouldn't have the knowledge, which in turn gives us confidence, which allows us to dare and be confident of our civilization. So this is what we bring out through our various aspects. Those who want more information can always visit our website BharathGyan.com to get all this data. Thank you so much. Back to Shilpa.
Wow, that was incredible. Thank you so much. There was so much information, so much that I didn't know before in terms of the civilizational boundaries of Bharat. And I also appreciate the depth and that has gone into creating this program, the certificate program, which sounds incredible. So I thank you for that wonderful presentation, and would love to just go through the questions that we have if you have a few extra minutes, if that's okay. Okay. So the first question is, what geographical region today corresponds to Astachal? Is that near Tehran? Is, I think, from the map. Is that right? Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So
It's
well,
close
that's
to Tehran. It's
yeah.
below the Caspian Sea.
Great. So we just answered that. Then we can say, second question, can we say that Bharatiya civilization is based on its geographical location? And also, don't you think the location we live in alters our thoughts, emotions, and actions?
I would say alters would be a strong term. I would prefer to use the term enhances, allows us to experience each of it. Each part of the world, Vishwa, because this is, as I said earlier, this is not a goddamn place, but every place is God created, God given, all over the world. So each place helps bring out different aspects of our thought process, emotions, our bonding, right from the North Pole to South Pole.
Actually, we see this when we do society and culture. The Bharatiya understanding of Kalachar, we have a word called Kalachar. And if you look at the Bharata civilization itself, you will see it's so diverse. And yet we call it as one culture. The word culture and Kalachar, look at the similarity, both phonetic and semantic. And we will then see that there is this beautiful ideas of something called Desachar, which is your regional context, your base, the desh where you live. It influences your habits, your traits, and everything. Therefore,
the topography, the hydrology influences your perspectives.
And we will see what are these influences when we do society and culture. We will see all these aspects that have influenced the Bharatiya Kalachar.
And we said Desachar. That Desachar, where does it come from? Our Vichar.
Thought.
Thought. Vichar means thought. So you need your thoughts to be in synchronization with your geography. So every part of the world is that way is good place to be in. It's only got to be in synchronous with the nature. That's what is key there.
Amazing. Amazing.
Can
Thank
I
you.
take this question? Can I take this question that I'm just seeing on the scroll before I lose it?
Absolutely.
It says which book or books we can refer to get all this ancient history. Yeah, it is actually not in one book. It's in many books. And so what we do is, therefore, since it's going to be difficult to read all of them, and actually even our own BharathGyan compilation, it is a lot of cross collaboration, jumping from one place to another. So what we have done is, we have, based on these courses, we have extracted the relevant material from the various books and put together a reading material which goes almost up to 1,000 pages for every course itself.
Every quarter, that is, see, what we have done is, fortunately, we have written down all this in the form of books. It's called Autobiography of India, authored by us. And we have crossed about 100 plus volumes already. And they're all put up in the public domain in our website, BharathGyan.com. So it's available for read. Some of the books through as online books, some of the book as flip books. Both are available for all to read. As she said, since 100 books is a little too large to sort of place and say read all of them for what you want, which please do, is available there in our BharathGyan website to read. To answer your question, yes, it is all in our series of books called Autobiography of India, from which we've extracted, shown you some sample few 4 pages here. But when we take up our course, as part of the course reading, Hema has taken the effort to extract the relevant pages for each of the class that we take and given that as easy flip book reading for our colleagues who come to the course. That's so both ways. You want to independently read the book? Yes, go to the BharathGyan website and you can independently read each of them. You want the concise collected version for your focused reading? You're welcome to the course where you have access to these, what you would call as a culled out versions for the relevant subject of that class day. Both options are available for you to choose from.
Wonderful.
Yes,
That's incredible. I just want to say I put the registration and information about the class in the chat. You can see that it's on Sundays and it is starting on July 14th. And the time there is 12:30 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Eastern. And you can see the India time, 8:30 p.m. to 10 p.m. IST. So please click that link and join. I'm going to just launch a poll here on enrollment. So I've just launched a poll, and while we go through other questions, please take a moment to answer that. So our next question is India possibly the land of Eden from the Bible story?
In fact, there is actually one mention. We have been able to find a reference which says that, and we'll be covering that in the course as well. So there are a few quotes where people have mentioned that this could be the Eden.
If you look at, actually written in one of the articles in the BharathGyan blog, where you have about 750 plus articles, one of the articles is about Solomon, King Solomon. So in his kingdom, obviously all of you know the name King Solomon. So in his kingdom, he speaks about this land of Eden being to the east across the seas. So when the land is to the east across the seas, which was then the Sindhu Sagar, what do you get? The west coast of Bharat. Wow. So the multiple references which we are given, we'll be discussing that more as we go along the class. See, again, let's not look at just see the way the land of Eden is made to look as if that is the only land. No, every land has its own beauty, has its own produce, and its own good people, the noble people everywhere. Again, it's only how it's been told at different times. Every land is divine. Absolutely. Every part of the earth is divine.
That's beautiful. I have a question which is about now that the geography of India's Bharat is contracted compared to what it was. I mean, part of nation is in our imaginations as well, right? And so it's something in our cellular memory, but it's also something, you know, that we can create in our imaginations. How do we live today knowing that, you know, how do we imagine Bharat today, knowing that the boundaries are contracted, and this is what we have right now is Bharat, and can we be okay with that? Because this is what we have. We have, you know, this is our sacred land, and other people are living and they consider the land now as their sacred land. So how do we understand that in a way that we can go forward with a positivity and understanding who we are?
See, good point. Thank you for asking this question. See, we were never, even though we knew this to be a noble land, a divine land, Arya, nobility, etc., we always realized and recognized it was made up of many kingdoms, probably 100 kingdoms. But culturally, we were similar one, and we had all the same rains, Varsha, Bharata, Varsha, with the same rains at the same time of the year. So, and as she said, Kalachar, which comes from Desachar, which comes from Vichar. So we know this. So the idea now is, now how many kingdoms are we, or how many lands are we? About 10. Earlier we were 100. So among these 10 lands, among the people of these 10 countries, 12 countries, 14 countries that it is, let us all be clear that we are still culturally one. We may follow different religions. In India, what's the term used for religion? We don't use it because there's no term religion in the Indian words. We call it matha. Mat, that which you think and apply. So that is mati.
It's not dharm. Dharm, the Hindi word dharm, is not actually religion. Though it has come to be.
Now,
Dharma is different. Dharma is different. And religion is different.
So we use the word mata. So the idea is to sort of encourage people to know that we are still a civilization where people want to be good, want to be noble, and this civilization has been noble, has had 10, 15, 20 kingdoms, 30 kingdoms through the ages, empires, all these things. See, the kingdoms and empires and kings keep on changing every few decades. That's a constant churn. But the people, their practices, their attachment to the land continues through generations, continues beyond generations. Kings and kingdoms come and go, but the people and the practice associated with the geography, the geology, the hydrology continues across time. That is a realization we need to bring in. And that's a much deeper realization, much deeper connect.
That is so beautiful. You're right. That is right. Empires come and go, and the underlying cosmology that is shared is what we need to understand, shared across a bigger geography, like than lines in a border on the earth. There's a shared cosmology, and that's very important. So thank you for bringing that out. That was incredibly beautiful. So many of these responses are thank you for this wonderful presentation. I don't think, what is the minimum age to attend the course?
16.
16.
Or we have a few youngsters who are in 13. Prodigies, really. So we have people, but what we suggest is when youngsters, the teens, early teens want to join, they're certainly welcome. But if one of the parent can be with them, they can guide them in the early teens a little better. But we have students coming from 13, 14 onwards regularly, but 16 plus, they can be on their own.
And wonderful. I think we have two of our friends who have joined our courses. Dr. Chris is here on this panel, on the session. And Sesha Akela, she's also there. I'm just seeing their names.
So they've already taken our
few of our courses.
Few of our courses quarters earlier.
Yes, so well, I think your courses are probably the most.
We have the Sachin family of children. They always attend.
Wonderful.
Amazing.
We always have them on the courses, and they are, like Hari says, they are about from 13 onwards.
Incredible.
So, amazing youngsters.
And very popular courses. Every course that you offer is incredibly popular. And so it's wonderful to have you here. I would like to just end. I think we've gone through all the questions. The rest are more statements. And thank you for incredible lecture and wealth of information that you share. I want to thank everyone for attending today and being here and taking the time to be here. And I would just wanted to invite you both, Dr. HemaHari and Dr. Hari, if for just one or two last words to share with us as concluding
Thank you so
remarks.
much for organizing. Thank you so much for organizing this session so that we could share these wonderful ideas with all our friends here. And thank you for conducting this event so well, Shilpaji. Very kind of you. And to all our 50 plus participants who joined in today, took the time and effort to join in and listen in fully. And I'm glad we have been able to make this presentation today. And looking at all the comments, it's so heartening and encouraging that what Hema's put up a full deck of slides to share with all of you on this perspective, because the effort we put in, because it takes a day or so or day or
We
two.
try to make sure that we don't repeat the same thing in all our webinars. So because this is, I think, the third or fourth time we are doing this geography and history, and we don't want to do exactly what we do in the class or even in the webinar, not the same thing. And this time we thought we'll go on a hunt to, hunt for Hastachal. So
Amazing.
that's something,
And Makaran Coast.
Amazing.
it's
That was-
beautiful. I wish one day we can go there. I
Maybe
always
that-
see and enjoy when we fly over, from India to Europe. We have to pass through all those places and
Nice to see them.
always wonder one day maybe we can.
That's
Lovely.
beautiful.
So look forward to seeing
Seeing
as many
all
of you as possible in the course, because that makes it more lively, encouraging, and we can interact, taking a lot of questions, which is how our sessions are generally very interactive through the session. It's never a monologue or a dialogue between the two of us. It's always a multi-log. And we take all questions before we end the
There
session.
is one question here. It's learned that Mexico formerly Meshika
Meshika.
was a part of the Jambu Dweep.
No, not Jambu.
Part of Jambu, yeah.
It's because you should understand that the present map shows Europe in the center, America in the far west, and Japan in the far east. Whereas the way the Bharata civilization looked at it was Bharat in the center, the continent of Americas to the far east, and England to the far west. The westernmost islands were the Spaniard Islands. That was to the far west. Off the coast of Africa, the Spain had a few islands. So that was the farthest.
So we always thought of America to our east, not to our west. And we had a lot of a ship, ocean-based connection.
Naval connect.
Navigational
connect from the east coast and west coast of the Bharata coast, long coastline of 7,500 kilometers.
Through the Pacific with Mexico and Central America, Central and Southern America.
Going to the archipelago of Indonesia and Philippines, to the Tahiti, Hawaiian Islands as watering holes, and going on to Meshika, the west coast of Mexico.
So Nishikant.
This is there in a book called 2012, The Real Story. Our book is there, in which this is mentioned, the Indo-Americas Connect.
So that's there. You can check out that book from our website and it'll lead you to the Kindle version. And you can read about this connect there. There are about some 300 odd pages of material about this connect.
Solid data.
Thank you. We have one last question here, which is, can you just briefly, if you don't mind, go over what are the requirements in terms of homework, exams, and testing?
Well, I mean, our sessions usually they touch close to 1 hour, 45 minutes or so, depending on the question answers. So until there are questions, we keep answering and so on. And post that, we have all these reading material, and the beauty of the HUA overall LMS, Learning Management System, is that these reading materials are available to you even after the course. I mean, they're always there after the quarter.
For a longer period of time.
For a long period of time, you always have that reference. So we put up reading material, we put up these kind of short films that we have, some of our articles as well. So that forms your takeaway from the class, and the course recordings will also be there on the LMS. So in case you have missed a session, unable to attend, you can always watch the recording. And we have quizzes. So the main assignments come in the form of quizzes for our various sessions, and these quizzes also form part of the scoring for the courses. So these are fundamentally the requirements. I would say requirement is in terms of what you would like to read before and after the class.
Good. There's a question here from, I think, Dr. Shalini Singh, is it? Is saying, asking, will the recordings of the webinar be shared?
Yes.
By the university for those who registered, and also be put up in our BharathGyan website, YouTube channel.
Wonderful.
Both places to be available. Yes.
And the HUA's channel also will carry this after this, and along with mailing you the link.
That's
For
right.
those who, please.
Yep. I think that is all for the questions. I want to thank everyone. If there's anything last you would like to say, otherwise I want to thank everyone for attending, and thank you both, Dr. Yes.
Yeah, all our earlier webinars too that we have held, probably 10, 12 webinars, all of them are available in the BharathGyan YouTube channel for viewing. Because as she said, on the same subject, we have done 3, 4 earlier webinars too on the same subject of Bharata, geography and history. So the different perspectives you'll get there. Because she's taken care to prepare each time a different perspective, which we don't cover in the course. So I keep adding new frontiers. The way Bharata has got a range of frontiers, the course content also we keep adding newer frontiers.
That's wonderful. So we can go back and see the prior webinars and get different perspectives on the class and different aspects of history.
That's what it is.
Wonderful. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Dr. HemaHari,
Namaste.
Dr.D.K.Hari. Namaste. Everyone, namaste.
Namaste.
Have a wonderful Sunday. All the best.
Thank you. Thank you.